Stellaris and Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation. If you don't know what either of those things are, don't worry your sweet little head about it. I got you. Stellaris, published in 2016 by Paradox Interactive, is a 4X grand strategy game with one major aspect that makes it particularly relevant. Its awesome scale. The game emphasizes interactions between unique civilizations, progressively learning about the mysteries of your procedurally generated universe, all flavored with emergent stories interlaced between bouts of intergalactic warfare. At the core of every civilization in Stellaris, regardless of whether they're robotic, hive-minded, or thoroughly alien, is a single shared drive: ascension. The drive to expand, perfect, and transcend their conditions. And then there's Annihilation. To contrast a game about civilizations conquering the stars, I'd like to bring attention to a story about an entity that doesn't conquer anything. It refracts. Annihilation follows a biologist sent into Area X, a zone of impossible transformation spreading outward from a meteor's impact site. The barrier surrounding it, which characters come to call the Shimmer, doesn't optimize or extract. It dissolves boundaries between organisms, shuffling life as we know it indiscriminately, resisting every attempt at comprehension or categorization. Both the game and the book, ignore the fact that I'm showing clips of the movie adaptation, both the book and the game engage a lot with themes of the sublime and with animacy. Both pieces of media address and portray forms of intelligent life that are outside of our understanding, and yet they reveal very different assumptions about what intelligence is for, and what our relationship to the universe around us should look like. But for now, let's understand what Stellaris even is, and where it comes from. Stellaris is a 4X game. The genre assumes that the map exists to be filled, that resources exist to be extracted, and that contact with other civilizations will eventually resolve into dominance or submission. Its player base skews towards fans of deep systems, emergent storytelling, and the kind of long session play that grand strategy games are known for. From there, the core gameplay loop is consistent regardless of how you choose to play. Survey star systems, extract resources, develop your population, build a military fleet, and expand your borders. You can play as a peace-loving, democratic federation, and yet, truly, there is no route to victory that doesn't involve force. The two victory conditions are owning 40% of the galaxy's colonizable worlds, or subjugating all of its empires. Stellaris itself usually lasts around 30 hours when you're playing the single player. The variety is real, but in the end, games are very consistent unless you don't care about being an irrelevant player on the galactic stage. Annihilation arrives from a very different tradition. Jeff Vandermeer's 2014 novel, the first in the Southern Reach trilogy, was adapted into a feature film by director Alex Garland in 2018, where Stellaris gives you a god's eye view of a galaxy you are meant to master. Annihilation puts you inside a single consciousness, losing its grip on what mastery even means. The film follows a biologist, unnamed throughout, who joins the 12th expedition into Area X, a zone of environmental transformation that has swallowed every previous team sent to investigate it. The Sublime, as an eco-critical lens, asks what a text does with overwhelming scale. Does the vastness of the world produce humility, a sense that you are small and the universe is ancient and indifferent, or does it aestheticize nature as spectacle, something to be gazed at and eventually conquered? Stellaris is saturated with sublime. The procedurally generated galaxy stretches across hundreds of star systems, each one with the potential to discover absolutely freaking anything. Early in any playthrough, your science ships venture into the unknown and return with anomalies, strange signals and possible ruins, evidence of civilizations that rose and fell before your species even grew to look up at the sky. The game renders all these discoveries with genuine awe, but in Stellaris, awe is always instrumental. The anomaly resolves into a measurable unit of wealth and knowledge gained. The unknown becomes binary in how it becomes useful to your civilization. In my opinion, the sublime in Stellaris is the feeling you get right before the game gives you something to practically do with it. The vastness of space is the backdrop for linear ascension, not any kind of argument against it. The sublime is fuel for ambition, and an awe-inspiring void inevitably becomes free real estate. Annihilation then treats the sublime very differently. Area X doesn't resolve. The Shimmer doesn't yield its secrets to investigation, it corrupts investigation itself. The biologist's journal, her primary tool of scientific comprehension, begins to write itself. Her instruments malfunction, and her teammates succumb not to the Shimmer's violence, but to their own inability to understand something that humans don't have a way of understanding. The sublime in Annihilation is not the friction at the edge of your border of understanding, it's the entire terrain. And then the Animacy lens asks what a text treats as alive, agentic, and worthy of consideration, and what it treats as inert matter waiting to be used. In Stellaris, animacy is conditional and hierarchical. This logic extends to the game's core population mechanics. In essence, populations in this game are very weird. They operate exactly like any other resource, except that you move them around from job to job rather than spending them. Currently, I'm playing through my first Stellaris game as a hive mind bug civilization. I decided to give in and try a more aggressive way of playing, so I waged some not-so-necessary wars against the ugly species I could find. Having claimed their planets, and what was left of their populations, I found myself at a loss for what to even do with them. Stellaris had literally labeled them as undesirables, which meant that they were being booted out to live anywhere but within my border. I wasn't a big fan of that because honestly it sounded even more wasteful, so I stopped that. I knew that slavery was a thing, and that sounded pretty fun. Unfortunately, because my hive mind is essentially a hyper-efficient ant colony, the game wouldn't even let me put the prisoners to work since they would literally just get in the way of my drones. Despising the idea of letting all of them waste away in prisons or whatever my bugs had down there for them, I had only one option at my disposal left according to the game. Food. You guessed it. The game let me label what represents approximately billions of alien civilians as food. If that's not an illustration of animacy, I don't know what is. And then there's Annihilation, which distributes animacy in the opposite direction. The Shimmer doesn't rank life by its usefulness or its capacity for mastery. It treats everything as equally available for transformation. The boundaries between organisms are not fixed in Area X. They're suggestions, and the Shimmer treats them as such. There's no distinguishing between what deserves transformation and what doesn't. No optimization. It refracts everything it touches equally, which is precisely what makes it so incomprehensible to the scientists who enter carrying the assumptions portrayed in Stellaris' gameplay. Conclusion. Through the lens of the sublime and animacy, Stellaris and Annihilation reveal two profoundly different imaginations of what intelligence is for and what its relationship to the universe should look like. But, seriously, the stories we tell about intelligence shape what we think intelligence is allowed to do. Stellaris tells a story where mastery is the point, where the universe is a problem sophisticated enough minds will eventually solve. Annihilation tells a story where the most intelligent thing a mind can do is learn to be changed. Both are worth your time, and the question of which one is right might be the most important question we are currently failing to ask.